Beijing cannot allow Russia to be defeated in Ukraine, as it fears that in that case, the US will completely switch its attention to China. This was stated by Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi to the head of EU diplomacy Kaja Kallas. He also rejected accusations that China is providing material support to the Russian military campaign, pointing out that if this were the case, the conflict would have ended with Russia's victory long ago. The Chinese diplomat's words were not public, SCMP media outlet notes, but this is exactly the conversation that took place between diplomats from China and the EU last Wednesday. The publication cites several sources familiar with the conversation. China, however, continues to deny accusations of providing material support to Russia's military efforts. According to sources, Wang Yi told Kaja Kallas that if China had helped Russia financially or with weapons, the conflict would have ended long ago. The point of all his words is that although China did not hope for this war, its continuation corresponds to Beijing's strategic needs, and we are talking specifically about continuation because in this case the US will remain involved in the events in Ukraine. The publication also notes that its sources were surprised by the harshness of the message from the Chinese diplomat. Beijing's official position remains unchanged. There is no fundamental conflict of interest between China and the EU. Europe is currently facing various challenges, but none of them have come from China in the past, present or future. Both sides should respect each other, learn from each other, develop and progress together, the Chinese Foreign Ministry said in an official statement. Kaja Kallas also demanded that Beijing stop cooperation with Moscow in the defense sector and support the thesis of a ceasefire in Ukraine without preconditions. In addition, concern was once again expressed about the human rights situation in China. German political scientist Alexander Rahr noted that the European official tried to talk to the Chinese diplomat from a position of moral and legal force. However, the global political reality is changing. The West refuses to admit that the international system is becoming multipolar. Europe perceives this very painfully. In addition, Europeans are coming to the realization that Kiev is not capable of returning the regions lost during the conflict. Now the task of Europe, which supports Ukraine, is to stop the further advance of the Russian army. For this, the Europeans need a ceasefire, after which the EU will most likely support Trump's peace plan, Rahr wrote on his Telegram channel.
Waves of drone and missile attacks targeted Kyiv overnight into Friday in the largest aerial attack since Russia's war in Ukraine began, injuring 23 people and inflicting damage across multiple districts of the capital. Russia launched 550 drones and missiles across Ukraine overnight, the country's air force said. According to Associated Press, the majority were Shahid drones, while Russia used 11 missiles in the attack. "We were all in the shelter because it was so loud. Staying home would have been suicidal. We went down 10 minutes before and then there was a loud explosion and the lights went out in the shelter. People were panicking," said 23-year-old wedding photographer Alya Shalai, whose apartment was destroyed in the attack. Shalai hid in the basement with her dog. "Now they have no home. It seems to me that people don't care anymore. People just want peace and people just want to lie in their bed and wake up in the morning, and not worry about what will fly through their window and they might not have a house tomorrow," Shalai said. Throughout the night, Associated Press journalists in Kiev heard the constant buzzing of drones overhead and the sound of explosions and intense machine gun fire as Ukrainian forces tried to intercept the aerial assault. Kiev was the primary target of the attack. At least 23 people were injured, with 14 hospitalized, according to Mayor Vitaly Klitschko. Ukrainian air defenses shot down 270 targets, including 2 cruise missiles. Another 208 targets were lost from radar and presumed jammed. Russia successfully hit 8 locations with 9 missiles and 63 drones. Debris from intercepted drones fell across at least 33 sites. 45-year-old Dr. Ruslan Zakrutny lost his cabriolet. He took a photo with his burnt car for a memories. There were explosions at first, but they weren't very strong, and then there was a very strong explosion and I felt all the glass shatter. I went down quickly and saw that everything was on fire. People tried to put it out, but it was in vain, Zakrutny said. The attack came hours after President Donald Trump held a call with Russian President Vladimir Putin and made his first public comments on his administration's decision to pause some shipments of weapons to Ukraine. That decision affects munitions, including Patriot missiles, the AIM-7 Sparrow air-to-air missile and shorter-range Stinger missiles. They are needed to counter incoming missiles and drones, and to bring down Russian aircraft. On June 4, a drone attack took place in the city of Sergiev Posad, Moscow region, Russia. Local telegram channels reported this. Ukrainian suicide bombers struck an electrical substation of drones, as well as the Scientific Research Institute of Applied Chemistry. As a result, an explosion and fire occurred at the substation, leaving several districts of the city without electricity. A fire also broke out at the Scientific Research Institute as a result of the drone strike. At least 2 people in the city were reportedly injured during the drone attack.
В общем, БПЛА прилетел в Сергиев Посад.